Have you ever woken up and felt older than you remember? Not tired, not sick, just different. What if your body has been whispering warnings, and you didn't even know to listen? After 60, a lot of us expect the usual slower pace, a few aches, and needing an extra minute to get out of bed. That's normal. But sometimes our bodies age faster than they should, and the signs aren't always loud. They're subtle, quiet, easy to miss. These aren't just signs of getting older. They're signals like blinking lights on your car dashboard, telling you to pause, pay attention, and maybe make a change. Today, I want to share 6 signs I wish someone had told me about sooner. Not to scare you, but to gently nudge you, because knowing means you can do something about it. When I was younger, I once scratched my arm while gardening, and I forgot about it within minutes. A few days later, my skin had healed completely, as if nothing ever happened. But the year I turned 65, I cut my wrist while peeling an apple. It was a small, simple injury. I washed it, applied some antiseptic, and covered it with a bandage, just like I always used to. But this time it didn't heal. A week passed, then 10 days. I started to notice the skin around the cut was still red, still a little tender. That's when I realized something inside me had changed. Most people over 60 would brush off something like that. It's just age, they say. But the truth is, it could be one of the earliest signs that your body is aging on the inside. You see, your skin, the body's first layer of defense, is often a reflection of your overall health. When wounds take longer to heal, it's your body quietly trying to tell you something. First, it might be a sign that your immune system is slowing down. Your body doesn't respond as quickly as it used to when fighting off bacteria or rebuilding new skin cells. Second, it could mean your circulation isn't what it used to be. Blood carries oxygen and nutrients to your wounds. When your blood vessels weaken or narrow, healing becomes much slower. Third, a lack of key nutrients, especially protein, vitamin C, and zinc, can leave your skin without what it needs to recover. And sometimes, underlying conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, or even long-term stress can weaken your body in ways you don't immediately notice. Think of your body like a garden. When you're young, the soil is rich, the seeds sprout quickly, and everything grows strong. But over time, the soil dries out, nutrients get used up, and pests show up more easily. A wound is like a patch of soil that's been damaged. If it isn't tended properly, it won't just stay bare. It can get infected or scar deeply. So when should you be concerned? If a small cut doesn't heal within 10 to 14 days. If the skin around it remains red, swollen, or feels warm. If you notice any pus, yellow or green discharge, or a foul smell. Or if you start feeling unusually tired or develop a low-grade fever with no clear cause. These aren't just surface-level issues. They could be your body's way of warning you that something deeper is going on. But don't panic. You can help your body heal itself. Even in your 60s, 70s, or 80s. Start by eating enough protein. Lean meats, eggs, tofu, beans, and nuts are great sources. Get vitamin C from fruits like oranges, grapefruit, and kiwi. Add more zinc with pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds. Stay hydrated by drinking plenty of water. Healthy skin needs moisture from the inside. Move a little every day, even just a short walk, to keep your blood flowing. And most importantly, manage any chronic conditions. Don't let things like diabetes or high blood pressure quietly hold your body back from healing. For a long time, I thought fatigue and slow healing were just things you had to put up with as you age. But I've learned something else. Taking care of yourself is never too late. A wound that takes time to heal isn't just a sign of aging. It's a message, a gentle whisper from your body saying, please, take care of me the way you used to. If you start listening early, you may just change the way your story continues. One small step, one act of care at a time. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, I feel shorter than I used to? Or maybe you put on an old pair of jeans and suddenly the hem is brushing the floor. At first, I blamed my shoes. Then I thought maybe the mirror was tilted. But when I finally measured my height, I had lost nearly an inch compared to when I was 60. An inch may not seem like much, but for an adult, that kind of loss is significant. and it's often a sign that something is happening inside your body. See, most people don't realize that we begin to lose bone mass in our 30s. It happens slowly at first, but after age 60, the process speeds up, especially for women who are postmenopausal. When estrogen levels drop, bones become more fragile. And if you're not careful, your spine, the part of your body that carries you every day, can begin to compress. You won't feel it at first. There's no sharp pain or dramatic event. You just begin to shrink. I remember a friend of mine. She was in her 70s, always full of energy and tall for her age. But over time, her back started curving. She needed a cane, then a walker. One day, she said to me, "I used to be 5 feet 7 inches. Now I can barely reach the top shelf." She said it with a laugh, but there was sadness in her eyes. I wish I had taken better care of my back. Losing height isn't just about looks. It affects how we walk, how we breathe, even how our internal organs function. When the spine compresses or weakens, it throws off our balance, and suddenly things like standing up from a chair or walking across the room feel harder. So, how do you know if it's happening to you? The simplest way is to measure your height once a year. Ideally in the morning, when your spine is at its fullest length. If you notice you've lost more than half an inch in a year, or over an inch total, it may be time to talk to your doctor about bone health. Now here's the good news. You don't have to accept shrinking as just part of aging. There's a lot you can do to slow it down, even reverse it in some ways. Start by staying active, but not just any activity. You need weight-bearing exercises, things like walking, light resistance training, or even yoga. These help stimulate your bones and encourage them to stay strong. Make sure you're getting enough calcium and vitamin D. That doesn't just mean drinking milk. Leafy greens like spinach, canned salmon with bones, almonds, and fortified foods all help. And a little sunlight each day, even 15 minutes, can give your body the vitamin D it needs to absorb calcium properly. Also, pay attention to your posture. If you find yourself slouching more often, or if your back gets tired easily, consider gentle stretching or posture exercises. These don't just make you stand taller. They help your spine stay healthy longer. Most importantly, don't ignore the little aches and changes. If you're noticing back pain, rounded shoulders, or trouble standing up straight, those may be signs your spine is asking for attention. I used to think losing a little height was no big deal. But over time, I realized that staying tall isn't just about inches. It's about independence. The stronger your spine, the more confident your steps. The longer you can reach, bend, move freely, the longer you can live on your own terms. So no, shrinking isn't just cosmetic. It's your body whispering, "Take care of your bones. Keep me strong." And if you start listening now, you can stand taller, live better, and keep reaching for the things you love, no matter how old you are. I used to remember being out in the sun, even just for a little while, and immediately feeling thirsty. My mouth would dry up, and I'd go looking for a cold glass of water without thinking twice. But in recent years, something changed. There were days I'd barely drink anything, and I didn't even notice. I wasn't thirsty. At first, I thought it was a good thing. Maybe my body just didn't need as much. But I later learned something that surprised me. As we age, our sense of thirst naturally dulls. That means our body still needs water, maybe even more than before. But the signals telling us to drink, they get quieter. Sometimes they stop altogether. And that's where the danger begins. Dehydration doesn't always come in the form of dry lips or dizziness. For older adults, it can be sneaky, showing up as fatigue, constipation, dry skin, headaches, brain fog, or even mood changes. You might feel tired all day, even after a good night's sleep. Or you might find it harder to concentrate, more irritable than usual, or just plain off. Many people blame those feelings on age, when in reality, they're just not drinking enough water. And when you're dehydrated regularly, even a little, it can take a serious toll. Your kidneys have to work harder. Your skin loses elasticity. Your digestion slows down. You become more prone to infections and falls. In fact, dehydration is one of the top reasons older adults end up in the emergency room. And they don't even know it. What makes this worse is that many medications increase fluid loss, including those for high blood pressure, heart conditions, and diabetes. So if you're taking meds and not feeling thirsty, the risk doubles. I used to think, if I'm not thirsty, I must be fine. But that's no longer true. In fact, waiting until you feel thirsty can mean you're already behind. So what can you do? First, make hydration a habit, not a reaction. Keep a water bottle near your favorite chair, your bedside, your kitchen counter. Sip throughout the day. It doesn't have to be a lot at once. Just a few ounces here and there add up. Second, eat water-rich foods. Cucumbers, watermelon, oranges, tomatoes, and soups all count. You're not just eating for nutrition. You're helping your body stay hydrated in a way that feels natural and easy. Third, reduce things that pull water from your system, like caffeine and alcohol. They may seem harmless, but they quietly dry you out more than you think. Try herbal teas instead, or warm lemon water in the morning, both gentle and soothing. And if you're someone who just doesn't enjoy plain water, flavor it naturally with fruit slices or herbs like mint or basil. Make it enjoyable, not a chore. I'll be honest with you, I used to ignore this. Then one day, I stood up too fast and everything spun. I sat back down, heart racing, vision blurry. It wasn't my heart. It wasn't low blood sugar. The doctor looked at me and said gently, "You're dehydrated." That moment changed everything. Now I treat water like I treat medicine. Something essential, something healing. And I encourage you to do the same. Because taking care of yourself isn't just about what hurts. It's about what you no longer feel, too. When thirst disappears, it's not a sign that your body doesn't need water. It's a quiet warning that it needs you to pay attention, even more than before. So here's my advice. Don't wait to feel thirsty. Make drinking water a loving habit, not because you're sick, but because you still care about your energy, your clarity, your independence, your future. Even something as small as a glass of water can be an act of deep self-respect. I used to think that staying active meant I was keeping my strength. I walked every morning, did the housework, carried groceries in from the car. I was always on my feet, so I assumed I was doing enough. But then one day, I noticed something strange. I tried lifting a full pot from the stove, and it felt heavier than it used to. I struggled to unscrew a jar I used to open without thinking. Climbing stairs left my legs shaking. Even something simple like standing up from a chair without using my hands suddenly didn't feel so simple. I hadn't stopped moving, but somehow I was losing strength. And that's when I learned a word I had never heard before, sarcopenia. It means age-related muscle loss. It starts gradually after your 30s, but after 60, it can speed up even if you're still active, especially if your activity does involve strength building. The truth is, everyday movement, walking, cleaning, gardening, is good for your heart and joints, but it doesn't challenge your muscles enough to keep them strong. And without resistance, your muscles quietly start to shrink. It's not your fault. It's just how the body changes with age. Your body starts making less of the hormones that help build and maintain muscle, like testosterone and growth hormone. Your ability to process protein decreases. And if you're not careful, your muscle mass can slowly melt away, unnoticed, until one day you realize you're not as steady on your feet as you used to be. And that's when falls happen. That's when fatigue sets in. That's when independence starts to feel like something you're fighting to keep, instead of something you naturally enjoy. But here's what gave me hope. You can rebuild muscle at any age. Start by making protein a priority. Not just once a day, but spread out throughout your meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Eggs, chicken, tofu, yogurt, nuts, and beans are all excellent options. If you're not eating enough protein, your muscles don't have the raw material they need to stay strong. Next, add in simple strength exercises. Nothing fancy. No gym membership needed. Lift a small pair of dumbbells, or even 2 water bottles. Do gentle squats by sitting and standing from a sturdy chair. Practice standing on one leg to help with balance. Just 10 minutes a day can make a difference. And be consistent. Muscle doesn't come back in a day, but it does come back with steady care and attention. I once met a gentleman in his 80s who told me he does 5 wall push-ups and 10 leg lifts every morning before breakfast. It's not much, he said, but it reminds my body who's in charge. I smiled when he said that because I understood exactly what he meant. Strength isn't just about lifting heavy things. It's about lifting yourself off the couch, out of bed, into the world with confidence and ease. It's about carrying groceries, playing with your grandkids, walking through the park without fear of falling. Losing muscle isn't a punishment. It's a signal. It's your body's way of asking for attention, for nourishment, for just a little bit of daily challenge. So no matter your age, no matter how long it's been, remember this. Your muscles are still listening. They still respond. And they're waiting for you to say, let's get strong again. Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you went in? Or started to tell a story and halfway through realize you couldn't remember a name or even what you were talking about? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And I'll be the first to admit, it's a little scary at first. I used to wonder, is this the beginning of memory loss? Could it be something more serious? But over time, I learned something comforting. Sometimes your memory isn't failing, it's just wandering. As we age, our brains start to work a little differently. They don't stop, they just take a more scenic route. You see, memory isn't about having a perfect recall of everything. It's about how we file, store, and retrieve what we know. And as we get older, our brains are holding decades worth of memories, emotions, routines, facts, and stories. It's like trying to find a book in a massive library. Sometimes, you know exactly where to go. Other times, you walk in and forget what you came for. That doesn't mean something is wrong. It just means your brain is full. It's lived. It's layered. And sometimes, it needs a little more time to catch up. I'll give you an example. A few months ago, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years. I recognized the face right away, but I couldn't place the name. It wasn't until later that night, brushing my teeth, that it hit me out of nowhere. The name, the memory, the connection, all of it came rushing back. That's not memory loss. That's memory delay. Still, it's important to know the difference between normal forgetfulness and something more serious. If you forget appointments, lose track of the date or season, struggle to follow a familiar recipe, or repeat the same question over and over, those could be signs to talk with your doctor. But if you're just occasionally blanking on a word or walking into a room and losing your train of thought, that's often just a normal part of aging. So what can we do to help our memory stay sharp, or at least stay with us? First, give your brain something new to do. Learn a new skill. Take up a hobby, read more, play brain games. Just like your muscles, your brain needs exercise to stay strong. Every time you try something unfamiliar, even if it's challenging, you're building new connections in your brain. Second, feed your brain. Eat foods rich in omega-3s, like salmon and walnuts, and colorful fruits and vegetables that are high in antioxidants. Stay hydrated, and don't underestimate how much sleep impacts your memory. When you sleep, your brain organizes and stores everything you experienced that day. No sleep, no storage. Third, slow down. We live in a world that moves fast, but your brain doesn't always want to race. It wants to take its time, to notice, to absorb. If you try to do too much at once, texting, talking, cooking, planning, something will slip through the cracks. So be present, one thing at a time. That alone can improve recall. And lastly, and I think this one matters most, be kind to yourself. Forgetting something doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. It means you've lived long enough to carry more stories than your mind can sort through in a day. And isn't that a beautiful thing? I used to get frustrated when I couldn't remember a word. Now I smile and say, it'll come back. And it usually does when I least expect it. So if your memory feels like it's slipping, maybe it's just stepping away for a moment, wandering through your life, collecting the right detail before it gently finds its way back to you. There's tired, the kind that comes after a long day. And then there's that other kind of tired, the kind that never seems to go away. You sleep through the night. You take your afternoon rest. You sit quietly with a cup of tea. But still, your body feels heavy. Your thoughts move slowly. And no matter how much you try to take it easy, the tiredness lingers like a fog that just won't lift. That's not normal. And it's not just aging. I know because I've been there. I used to think it was just part of getting older. I'd tell myself, well, I'm not young anymore. Of course I'm tired. But deep down, something didn't feel right. And it turns out, constant fatigue that doesn't go away with rest is often your body's way of waving a little white flag. It could be something simple, like not getting enough iron, or lacking vitamin B12 or vitamin D. It could be that your thyroid, a tiny gland in your neck that controls your energy, has slowed down without you realizing it. Sometimes it's your heart. A heart that's not pumping blood efficiently will leave your body starved for oxygen, even if you're just sitting still. And other times it's something more hidden. Chronic stress, the kind you carry silently day after day. See, stress doesn't always feel like panic or anxiety. In older adults, it often shows up as low energy, sleep disturbances, or mental fatigue. You may feel numb, detached, or even a little hopeless. Not because you're depressed, but because your nervous system has been running on empty for too long. And here's the hard part. When you're tired all the time, it's hard to even find the energy to figure out why. That's why many people ignore it. They just push through. But pushing through doesn't fix the problem. Listening to your body does. So what can you do when rest is enough? Start with a full checkup. Ask your doctor to test for anemia, thyroid levels, vitamin deficiencies, and heart function. Don't assume it's just your age. Get the facts. Next, look at your sleep. Are you sleeping long enough and sleeping well? Sleep apnea is incredibly common in older adults and often goes unnoticed. If you snore, wake up frequently, or feel exhausted in the morning, even after a full night's sleep, that might be why. Then consider your food. Are you eating enough protein, fruits, and healthy fats? Are you skipping meals or eating mostly processed foods that don't actually fuel your body? Nutrition isn't just about keeping weight in check. It's about giving your body what it needs to function well. And finally, and maybe most importantly, ask yourself, what's weighing me down emotionally? Is there grief I haven't processed? Is there tension in my home or in my thoughts? Is there loneliness I've gotten too used to? Emotional weight is just as exhausting as physical labor, and often even harder to talk about. The good news? You don't have to feel this way forever. Even small changes, drinking more water, taking a short walk every morning, talking to someone you trust, spending 10 minutes a day in quiet reflection, can begin to lift the fog. I used to believe that energy belonged to the young, that once it faded, it was gone for good. But now I know that energy returns to those who care for themselves, body, mind, and spirit. If you're living in a heavy tiredness, the kind that sleep won't fix, please don't accept it as your new normal. Ask questions, seek answers, and most of all, be gentle with yourself. Because sometimes healing isn't about doing more. It's about listening more and giving your body and your heart what they've been quietly asking for. Now, I want you to imagine something. What if your body could sit down across from you and say, here's what I need right now? Would you listen? These signs, they're not punishments. They're messages, and listening to them is an act of self-respect. Because aging isn't about becoming weaker. It's about learning to become wiser about your body. So, if any of these signs feel familiar, don't panic. Don't brush them off. Just pay attention. Change doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. And maybe, just maybe, listening to your body is the first step to aging slower and living better. If this video spoke to you, even in a small way, please share it with someone you care about, and subscribe for more gentle, heartfelt advice like this. Your support helps us keep creating stories that truly matter. Let's grow older, but never stop growing wiser. Together,